always. One of the interesting things about humans is our ability to recognize patterns in things. We see patterns in clouds and in the dark forests. We evolved with this so that we could survive. Out in the woods, in the wilderness, we need to be able to quickly recognize the face of a predator, or the shape of a predator, and be able to run away from it before it eats us. But now, of course, we don't have to worry about that so much, and so our pattern recognition brains have led to some very interesting things, like seeing devils in smoke towers and Jesus in toast. It's very interesting. However, it can help us in today's task as well. So recall back last stage when we learned about the nominative and the accusative. We saw that when something happens to a person, we change the spelling of it. For instance, right, we had metella as the nominative, as doing something, and metellam as the accusative, something happening to her. We had kaikilios, the nominative, as him doing something, and kaikilium, the accusative, something is happening to Kaikilius. And we had mercator as the noun that is doing something, and mercatorem when something happens to him. If we were to look at a wider selection of nouns, perhaps we might see that there are some certain patterns going on. Let's use words like canis, canem, coquus, coquum, culina, culinam, filius, filium, filia, filiam, mater, matrem, servus, servum, via, viam, amicus, amicum, enkila, enkilam, navis, nawem, taberna, tabernam. This is a big list. Use that pattern recognition brain of yours and see what you can come up with this. Perhaps you've noticed that there seem to be three different distinct groups here. We have one large group where the nominative ends in an A and the accusative ends with an AM. We have another group here where the nominative ends with US and the accusative ends with UM. And we have a third group here where the accusative ends with EM. The nominatives are a little silly. They don't seem to have a pattern going on here. Well, if this is what you found, then your pattern recognition brain is going to save you from danger, because this is exactly what we need to be looking at. In Latin, we call these families declensions. The first declension is that A group, which is kind of handy because A comes first in the alphabet. Not only that, but it's also a huge group of nouns. The second declension is that US to UM group. It does not come second in the alphabet, so I'm sorry, but it is what it is. The second declension is another really big group. And then the third declension is that EM in the accusative. And one of the defining things about the third declension is that the nominatives are just weird. There is no set pattern for a nominative. It just is what it is. They end in all sorts of letters. They don't have a pattern. But they do in the accusative now. They all end in EM in the accusative. So that's how we recognize them. And that's really all that we needed to discuss today, is just the noticing that there are groups of nouns that fit into patterns. This is going to become a huge thing later. But for right now, let's just notice that these groups, these declension families, exist. And as we learn more, we can expand this idea of declensions even further. And that's it. Voila.